President Moon Jae-in asked the nation's support for the successful arrangement of the historic summits ahead, while his key officials focused on getting jittery regional powers on board. Our Moon Connyoung starts us off.
With the two Koreas' decision to hold a historic summit in late April and the U.S. President Donald Trump's stunning decision to accept a face-to-face meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, all set to happen in the next 2 months, South Korean President Moon Jae-in remains extra cautious in taking the process forward so as to not blow off a hard-won chance.
한반도 비핵화와 항구적 평화 체제, 남북 공동 번영의 길을 열 수 있는 소중한 기회가 마련되었습니다. 그러나 우리가 2달이라는 짧은 기간에 이루려고 하는 것은 지금까지 세계가 성공하지 못했던 대전환의 길입니다. 그래서 그 결과도 낙관하기가 어렵고 과정도 조심스러운 것이 현실입니다.
While the president pleaded for nationwide support for the success of the upcoming talks, overseas, his key officials began carrying out Mr. Moon's efforts to bring jittery regional powers on board. In Beijing, President Moon's national security advisor Chung Eui-yong sat down with Chinese President Xi Jinping for 35 minutes on Monday as a parallel delegation headed to Tokyo to brief Japanese officials on the attempts to open talks with Pyongyang on its nuclear and missile program. The Chinese leader told the South Korean official that China is on the same page with Seoul and that he hopes for a smooth inter-Korean summit while giving credit to the South for great progress in getting North Korea and the U.S. to agree to dialogue. President Moon's chief envoy praised the role of China and President Xi in nudging North Korea toward denuclearization and getting Pyongyang and Washington to agree to talks. Chung will travel to Russia on Tuesday to bring Russian officials up to speed. In Tokyo, South Korea's National Intelligence Service Chief So-hoon met with Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono and detailed his recent trip to Pyongyang and the subsequent talks. Tokyo's foreign minister said Japan would work closely with Seoul and Washington on denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula, calling the situation a near miracle. So is scheduled to meet with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga before returning to Seoul on Tuesday.
The South Korean president says the fate of this country and the Korean Peninsula hangs on how things are handled in the next 2 months, this opportunity that has landed in the world's hands like a miracle. And amid lingering uncertainty and anxiety running through the minds of all those involved in this process, experts warn you can never be too careful in a delicate situation like this, and don't count your summits until they're hatched. Moon Connyoung, Arirang News, The Blue House.